Hey everybody, welcome to Trading Capital's daily live stream of the market opens. The markets are set to open here in about 1 minute, 30 seconds. We have the Dixie popping. Markets are still holding up relatively well. Right now we're just going to wait to see what opportunities. You have Microsoft gapping up, you have Apple gapping up, you have Google getting demolished, some of the banks are getting hurt. But let's just see what trades we get here. I'm just going to watch the spiders here on the screen to see if we get any solid action. But as of now, we're just going to wait in the pocket and see if there's any trade setups that come to us. I do have a potential short on JP Morgan if it was to hit the 141.50 level. That's where I do like JPM. Nvidia's under pressure, Apple's falling, AMD's under a lot of pressure this morning. Obviously, Bitcoin took a big dump on the rising dollar. No real trades as of yet. Roblox is getting slaughtered, so that might be a potential long trade on Roblox. It needs to come a little bit lower though. But the markets are kind of just flat. There is weakness. So State Street, I do like State Street for a long trade. Actually, it's bouncing pretty sharply here. I have a 65 Pierce. Wow, that bounced tremendously. Let's look at RBLX again. RBLX, if this was to flush into this low pivot here, you have the 200 daily moving average as support. We will go long Roblox, but it needs to get there in the next, say, 10 minutes. But it's down 12%. Natural gas is booming. Nvidia had a pretty sharp drop there. Energy stocks are remaining positive up on the session. JP Morgan, I'm still interested in a short on JP Morgan. It's starting to catch a little bit of a bounce through the spiders. Take a look at this XPEV for a potential. Look at that. That's coming in. Keep our eye on the spiders. Nvidia is coming down pretty sharply here, guys. The VIX is still weak. The Dow components are acting very well today. Some of the defensive names like McDonald's, Coca-Cola, KRE, wow, look at this KRE. KRE's dumping pretty hard here, guys. KRE is dumping pretty hard here. So that's going to weigh in on some stocks here. Microsoft is getting some strength because Google's down substantially. If Microsoft was to head into this high pivot over here, we'll short it. 292 Pierce, we can short Microsoft. And it may get there because the spiders are trying to catch a little bit of a bounce here. There is a potential that it could get there. Take a look at the spiders. I'll keep Microsoft on my other screen. Spiders are trying to hang in and push a little bit higher here. Crypto still under pressure, but still remaining in its near-term uptrend. I did want to look at that Nordic NVO. This NVO for a short is pretty interesting. It's coming in now. It's well off the highs, about 30 cents off the highs. Need to take out the high to get back in there. JP Morgan's reversing now, so tech is starting to catch a bounce as the banks start to reverse. Roblox is bouncing. Healthcare is coming in a lot sharper now. So you're starting to see some of those defensive assets. Let's take a look at mRNA. Oof, big drop. Wow. Alright, we're going to play mRNA on the long side. Basically, the level I'm looking at, let me just draw this trend line. Connecting these pivots. I really only like it around this 140. Maybe aggressive levels can go at these pivots around 143 pier, 144 Pierce. So aggressive traders can play it around a 143.76 level. I might personally wait until we get a bigger move down. So aggressive level 143.75 or lower, conservative level around the 140 level. I'll let you know if I take it. It is on my radar. Meta's had a bounce. Nvidia's trying to push back to the positive side. It's still down slightly. Microsoft, keep Microsoft on the radar because we have a short on Microsoft approaching very, very soon here. The markets are trying to bounce. Schwab went negative after being up a few percent. So banks are certainly not out of the woodwork yet. A lot of pressure. Healthcare is under pressure. Google's had a nice bounce. It was down around 4%. It's only down 2.8. mRNA is coming in now. Microsoft, I'm still watching that. Gold is getting a little hit. Natural gas is soaring and roaring. Natural gas is up on the session 8.5%. Wow. What a magnificent rally in nat gas. That is beautiful to see. Beautiful to see. Spiders. Wow, look at this big push on the spiders. Spiders are pushing up. So we may get that Microsoft short. It is starting to approach a little bit higher. There is a gap fill around. Let me just erase those. The gap fills around 291.60. I'm going to let it try to pierce, considering the markets are also strong as of now. And we did get some manufacturing data that shot up and came in better than expectations, which is what shot the dollar up, shot the yields up. So Microsoft's heading into that level now. I'm going to wait until we hit that green line around 292 pierce. You are hitting gap fill. You just tagged it. It should pierce. But definitely keep Microsoft on watch for a short. It is pulling off of that level slightly, but it's still, the markets are acting well, and you should get a final push into that level. So anything above 292 for a short on Microsoft. Apple just turned positive. Google's down 3.4, so a lot of the money flowing out of Google into Microsoft. That's what it looks like to me. Volatility still at the lows, not really catching a bounce. Nvidia is trying to turn positive. Moderna is still an interesting play. Moderna is still on watch for a long trade. JP Morgan had a big reversal, so banks are now back under pressure. Banks are seriously seeing some pressure right now. But definitely keep mRNA on. Look at this move in the spiders. Look at the move in JP Morgan. It's actually reversed from the highs, and it just went negative. So that's obviously the KRE. And again, with the banks weak, I wouldn't put too much stock into this rally. Again, tech is the one that's leading this market rally higher, like the Qs. Take a look at the Qs. They're pushing up tremendously well. But you still have some important names that are very weak. Obviously, gold is under pressure, so that might signal that the dollar is going to get another bid at some point. Roblox is still under pressure. Take a look at that State Street Bank. That was a pretty big one. What's the ticker there? State Street. There it is. STT. So keep State Street on the radar for a potential long. Moderna for a potential long. Microsoft still for a potential short. State Street did have a bounce, so I'd actually look to maybe adjust this level to about a pierce of the 64 level. But the spiders are holding up well here. Nvidia just turned green. Big push on Nvidia. So again, a lot of capital, I think, rotating out of Google. Take a look at Google. Google had a big bounce. Now it's coming back down. Let's see if there's some support on Google here. Just going to go to the daily chart. Whoops, let me just erase these drawings. So Google has a gap that still needs to be filled right at the 105.14 level, but I don't think that's going to be the level that to play on the long side considering we bounced already. Reversal. Basically, the level for long trade on Google will be around 104.60 in my opinion. 104.60. And again, we have to watch to see if the markets end up getting weak, because a lot of these names that are down, if the spiders and the Qs start to go negative, then they're obviously not going to have that relative strength behind them. Meta's starting to reverse from the highs. Riot is down substantially. Moderna is starting to fall. Silver still coming in. BA is catching a bid. Big strong move on Boeing. The home builders are holding up. Still watching Moderna here, guys. Moderna is still interested in a long trade. I like the 141 level now as well. This level's been actually 142.50 is decent. I'm just looking at it on my other screen here. 142.50 or lower is pretty decent. Spiders are still continuing to try to push up. Regional banks are now catching a bid. That Microsoft level has pulled off and hit, so kind of have to go a little bit lower now on Microsoft. Aggressive 142.50. Conservative around the 140 level, just above 140. Scrolling through here to see spiders are pushing up again. So the spiders are definitely helping this market right now. So we should get a little bit of a long trade if Moderna flushes. We'll have the S&P as a backdrop for us to try to push us higher. XOM is doing well. Oil's really just hovering near the highs. Spiders are now starting to come in. So now we have to be careful if the spiders start coming in, these weak names that we're planning to go long on. If the spiders really start to give up its positive territory, right now they're at 0.12, it should cause these stocks to go even lower. So Moderna's coming down still, guys. Moderna is coming down. I'm gonna play the secondary level because around just a pierce of 141, maybe around there, because I don't like this aggressive level considering the spiders may start to roll over here. Specifically, I'm looking at Microsoft, which is a leader. That is reversing pretty sharply. Take a look at Google again. That's still coming down near the lows. Had a bounce, but still haven't filled that gap. And gold is also under pressure, so it's putting stress on the miners. Interesting to see volatility still hasn't crept back up. Let me do a quick check on China stocks. I know they were leading, so they're kind of gapped up and potentially fading. Potentially fading. Spiders now have a 10-minute topping tail forming. That's going to be nasty for this market if that happens. 10-minute topping tail on the spiders. But Now they're pushing back up. The dollar's also trying to push up. You have Google down 3.4. AMD. Let's do that Roblox check again. RBLX. It's also starting to come down again. Let me just try to isolate down the correct level. So Roblox had a big bounce and now it's meeting more selling pressure. The level I like on Roblox now for a long would have to be below 40. 39.30. You have the 200 moving average around 38.60, 38.59. Spiders are now coming in a little bit sharper here. Keep my eye on Roblox here for a long trade. The level I'm liking on Roblox, you actually have the 200 at 38.59. So believe it or not, that's going to be the spot to play it around 38.57, 38.59 on the long side. Other than that, I'm not really seeing too much at this point in time. Obviously, crypto stocks are getting bashed right now because crypto's under pressure. But that's with the dollar surging. The DXY surging is going to naturally do that. Apple just went negative. It had a pretty big bar down. Pretty big bar down on Apple. So that's going to affect the NASDAQ here, the QQQs. Let's see what the spiders are doing now. So spiders are forming that 10-minute topping tail. STT still down 14% for a bank that's big. Manchester United is down 10%. mRNA is down 7.9. I'm still watching mRNA. It's catching a small bounce. But markets are looking in trouble now because Apple's leading the charge. Microsoft's falling sharply. Wow, look at this hard sell-off coming in. The spiders just went negative. Natural gas is still tremendously up on the session. Rip-roaring. Spiders still coming down. You have the healthcare negative. Tech just went negative. Financials are negative. XLY, consumer discretionary, is positive. Communications negative. Communications is the heaviest sector being hit. So let's take a look at Meta. Meta is starting to actually come in. Meta's now leading to the downside here. So it is currently down 1.23%. Interesting. Let me see if there's a Meta play. Meta is one of the more overbought names. You could potentially play a long trade around these pivots over here. If it were to flush, this is your breakout bar where it cleared these previous pivots. You've been consolidating. It would make a new low, but also be retesting these major supports. Spiders are still coming down now pretty hard. They're looking heavy. Let me just do a quick volume check. Dollar spiking. So the dollar is spiking. JP Morgan is still on the negative side after being up. Spiders are just flat on the session right now, but you do have lots of weakness starting to creep in. More red is showing up on the screen at this point in time. Let's do that STT check. So State Street Bank. That's had a nice bounce. Didn't quite get down to our level, but that's okay. Let's do a KRE check. That's had a bounce, but starting to see more sellers. mRNA just hasn't quite got down to our level, and it's bouncing. So just very, very close price action to our levels. Doesn't mean things can't still fall or rally. But at this point in time, we're just going to wait and see what shapes up in this market. Spiders are floating back to the positive side. Moderna's still hanging in there, but it is coming down. Do quick check on GDX. Check the silver. SLV, that's also negative. PNC is having a little bit of a bounce. Commercial real estate is hanging in there. Home builders are hanging in there. So the dollar just closed a new 10-minute candle at the high, closing at 102. So the big level for the dollar is, can it close above 102.13? I'll pull up the Dixie here. The big level I'm watching on the dollar is this wide range red bar breakdown. If you get through that and close and hold above that bar, then this market is likely going to sell off more. That's a big breakdown point in the market, in the dollar. And if the dollar, the currency market, recaptures that on a closing basis, the spiders should react to the downside. That's a big, big level on the spiders. Sorry, I accidentally changed that chart there. So pay attention to that Dixie, that 102.13 level on an hourly close basis. That's going to be a big, big level for this market. Microsoft's still coming in. Nvidia's trying to hold on to some positive gains, but it's back to the negative side. Meta's trying to bounce. mRNA is still trickling lower, guys, so keep mRNA on the radar. Spiders are fighting, trying to hold on. Just trying to see if there's anything else that I'm seeing. You have some crazy stocks like BLBX up 183%, CFRX up 266, but I'm not interested in playing those. Google's catching a bounce. Tesla's definitely having a beautiful surge to the upside. Interesting to see they are pumping ahead of their earnings. If Tesla was to head to around 190, 140, we could look for a short. If it was to squeeze up into that area pretty quickly, we could short it. Dollar's still continuing to surge, guys, and it certainly has some upside momentum to it. Yields are also positive on the short, the long term. There might be a potential long trade on the TLT. It's a little less volatile, but if we got to flush down into about 103.60, we could play it. Markets are trying to bounce here. Spiders leading the bounce. But be careful because Microsoft is looking a lot weaker now. It's starting to look like it wants to chase that gap that it has. And I do have a long level. If Microsoft now, we had a short level, which it just missed. It actually tagged the aggressive level. I won it at the green line. So anyone took that, that's an amazing profit. But if Microsoft comes down, it actually looks like it wants to fill this gap. But I have a long level on Microsoft right around a Pierce of 284. We can trade Microsoft on the long side. So 284, I'll just mark on the screen right around there. I do have a long trade. So if we let Microsoft pierce this green line, 284, if it came straight down in, we do have a long trade. But spiders are pushing up. Spiders are pushing up. Strength's coming back into the banks, so regionals are trying to put in a bottoming tail. Nice reversal on the banks, regionals. JP Morgan's still negative. Bank of America's pushing up though. Wells Fargo's pushing up. So definitely the banks are what's lifting the S&P. And then we're seeing weakness in the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ is actually negative, whereas the S&P is just holding on to some positive gains. Oops. Let's just take a look at the IWM here. Sorry about that connection there. Dollar's still trying to push up. Russell's holding up, so definitely relative strength in the Russell. The Russell's actually up 0.73%, which is why the banks are getting a bid here. Spiders is still holding up. Definitely weakness in tech for now. Google's still down 3. Roblox is still off of our level. Nothing to trade on Roblox yet. Still interested. Roblox for a long, but it needs to head lower. Really needs to flush a lot lower. Still watching mRNA. But realistically, these markets won't really catch that big of a bounce with tech weak. So it's kind of a lot of distribution is occurring. Money's rotating into the banks, out of tech. We've seen this capital rotation happen quite frequently, and it happens pretty quickly. But definitely a good move on UNG. Nice to see that. Coinbase is also down on the session, 6.2%. So the market volume is just slowly starting to settle in. Coca-Cola, that one looks like a short. Wow. Big move up in even McDonald's new highs. I mean, let me just see if I can isolate a level on McDonald's here. McDonald's is so extended. Actually, MCD looks interesting. It's just the volume today is not as heavy as I would have expected. Definitely not as... If McDonald's could push to 291, I would consider a short. Or actually 290.90. 290.90 is a decent level. And the reason I'm picking that for McDonald's is if we look at this chart here, there's just a little simple trend line connecting this pivot high to that pivot. That's really our only resistance. So I would let it pierce that trend line and we short it. So I'll keep that on the radar. Spiders are still hanging in there. Dollar's still pushing up. So again, the markets really haven't reacted to a dollar. I think that move in the markets is likely going to come, especially if the dollar recaptures that zone that we talked about. That's a big, big level for the dollar. And it's still grinding higher, the dollar. Still grinding higher. Beautiful move on nat gas though. Nice to see that working out at this point in time. So a big dump on the S&P there. That was a nice dump there. Maybe the market makers are starting to react to the dollar. So I still like Microsoft for a potential long. Tesla is surprisingly holding up very, very well here. Freeport McMoran's coming in nicely now. Wow, that's a big move on State Street. Let's do a Google check again. Google's now potentially putting in bearish consolidation to go lower. We really have to be watching that. The dollar's continuing to try to grind higher. Take a look at this dollar chart. And it's interesting, we got strong economic data from the New York Empire State Manufacturing. So that came in better than expected, which is what's propelling the dollar, causing yields to shoot up. Sorry, Dixie. The Qs are still acting weak right now. Spiders are also acting weak, seeing some distribution. Apple's still negative. Microsoft's holding up. So again, Microsoft and Tesla are the mega caps that are leading the charge today. And then let me see what else we have. We have Amazon also up on the session, just slightly, but definitely a lot of weakness. Not all. ASML is a big one too, another chip name that is getting slaughtered. Let me see if there's a level that we can go long on ASML. Actually do like this level here with the 100 daily moving average, and it would also coincide with this impulse green bar reversal. That's your big level where institutions should be sitting to defend this equity. So hopefully we can get a sell-off and it pushes us into that level, because I am intrigued for a potential long trade on ASML. We'll keep the Qs on the radar. I'll also keep that ASML on my other screen. Gold is still seeing some more selling. JP Morgan's seeing a lot of top wicks. Spiders, wow, look at that big push. That was a big push on the S&P and the Qs. That was a big, big push higher. And these markets just want to keep grinding higher. Almost seems like there's a Fed put in the market right now, but just be mindful that things can change very, very quickly. JP Morgan's seeing another round of selling. Regionals are still holding up. Some of the healthcare stocks are still remaining very, very strong. Spiders are trying to push up again. Qs are also acting well, pushing up near the highs. Spiders haven't taken out the highs yet, and you're seeing JP Morgan seeing another round of selling. Tesla's nearing the highs of the session. Nvidia's back to the positive side. So markets are just trying to grind now. Markets are looking to grind higher. No trades yet. I'm still just waiting in the pocket. It's kind of a very interesting session. A lot of weakness, but there's pockets of strength. Overall, markets are up. But I think the state of the dollar and the data that we got today and the yield movement, I think we're going to see a sell-off. I would not be surprised if we see more downside. Considering that the market's pushed up and Microsoft is still coming in pretty sharply now, I think we're going to see more downside in this market. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now. Huge reversals. Huge reversals. So we're seeing gold under a lot of pressure this morning, and that's the indication that the gold market is likely believing the dollar to keep trending higher today. We're even seeing copper roll over. Look at the dollar, it's trying to attack that key level. The dollar is moving, so that's that big pivot bar there on the dollar. And the markets are reacting now. Amazon's almost to the negative side. Apple's back to the negative side. Nvidia is just still holding up. JP Morgan's negative. Gold is still selling off. Gold is actually triggering a big bear flag on the hourly chart, which does indicate there's more downside or likely downside. Silver is obviously down as well in the session. The SLV is down 6.69%. Interesting to see home builders not reacting to the higher rates. They're holding up relatively well. Let's see FSLR. I'll pull up FSLR. Yeah, that one looks like a decent short. 216, I think one of the members is taking it. I would like to see it maybe push up a little bit more. It's a strong name in a weak market today. So I would like to see it there, but 216 should work. You see there's 216.26. Even double top is a potential. It is in a technical uptrend. I'll wait until we hit that double top myself because you've been consolidating. And especially if the markets are weak. But I like anything above this green line, 217.28. I do prefer the secondary level even better. But we can look for FSLR for a short. I don't mind shorting that one. So I'll keep that on my radar on my other screen. Spiders are coming in. So that should help the FSLR. Anything above 217 I like on FSLR. You do have a 10-minute retrace of a topping tail, so it is a decent area of resistance here. Definitely a decent area of resistance. Markets are coming in a lot harder now on the SPY. So that should help the FSLR trade, so whoever's in there. But take a look at the spiders. They're under a little bit of pressure. Apple's coming down. Qs are coming down. The Qs are the relative weakness. The dollar's charging for that 102.13 area. I'll short FSLR if it hits above 217. Other than that, I'm okay with missing it for now. I am watching it, but you're starting to see some weakness in tech. And that's the capital rotation now going likely into the bank trades, out of the overbought tech into the oversold bank names. But the interesting thing is that imagine we see a scenario where capital rotates into the banks because they're oversold and out of tech, which causes the market as a whole to go down more because tech is heavier weighted. And then we wake up to that capital that rotated into the banks. Imagine there was another banking crisis. What would happen to that capital that rotated in? So it's just an interesting dynamic. No trade is an easy one at this point in time. Or actually, the trades are easier. The investments are the harder aspect considering the uncertainty. QQQ's bouncing. Spiders are still holding up here. JP Morgan's breaking down. Healthcare's still under pressure. XOM is surging up, so ExxonMobil is surging up near the highs. I do have a short level on XOM around a pierce of 117. A pierce of 117. But it's acting very, very well. I'm actually... Dixie is still surging. It's finding some resistance at that level. Wow, look at this rollover on JPM, guys. Look at this rollover on JPM. That's a bit of an indication that this market may be in trouble. Spiders are continuing to fall. JP Morgan's under a lot of pressure right now. Healthcare's under pressure. right, so markets are just settling in here. They're trying to hold up. There's still selling occurring. AMD's down a couple percent. Nvidia's trying to go back to the negative side, or it is on the negative side. Apple's actually looking vulnerable to much more downside. I could see it heading down to the 163, mid 163s today. All right, FSLR is coming back up, guys. Strong name. Above 217. Above 217, I will short FSLR. Preferably 217.34. Oh, actually, you know what, guys? I'm not going to short FSLR yet. The volume is way too light. That's why it's grinding high. I would have to literally go into double top. That volume is so light. Not saying it can't pull back, but when you're shorting in a lighter volume environment, specifically when it's way below average, it leaves it vulnerable to maybe a little bit more upside, easier to squeeze it higher. I would have to wait now to above 218.40. 218.40, I would really only short it. The volume isn't even trading a million shares. It's under 500,000. And that's not what I like to see in a short trade. It's a little thin, and that's why it's being a stubborn trading. Even though you're getting these wicks and sellers are present, it's just the volume is so light. So it's going to squeeze up high on you. So again, that 216 area, you may get squeezed. It may come down if the markets fall, but again, this is a stock that is acting well in a down tape. So it's up 3.89%, outperforming the market. So imagine the spiders get another bid, what this stock could do. So I would have to wait for that double top zone. Not saying it won't pull back, but I'm just playing it cautiously because it's not hitting my volume criteria. Moderna's caught a bounce. The dollar's continuing to push up. Tesla's had a big pullback. Volatility is still getting crushed. McDonald's had a pretty big pullback as well. So markets are now trying to rally up here. Spiders are pushing up. Gold's still acting weak. It's really interesting to see the markets not reacting to the dollar. Not saying it can, it's just interesting to see a big push in the dollar and the markets are not reacting. Notice how we're still stuck under resistance on the SPY. We haven't really made a definitive move. Spiders are pushing up. Spiders are continuing to hang in there. Gold is about to break a pivot low and head a lot lower. Basically, I now have a downside target on gold based off of this bearish pattern that just formed. Gold should see a move down. Not today, but 1962 is the next bigger support level. 1962 on gold. Might get an intraday bounce before that. Not saying it's going to head there today, but 1962 is a bigger level now on gold. Spiders are still hanging in there. They're at the positive side. They're trying to perk up. Spiders are pushing near the highs of the session. Markets are pushing up. FSLR is pushing up. Apple is pushing up. Nvidia is pushing up. So definitely some strength still remaining in this market at this point in time. The dollar is starting to pull back a little bit, so that's why the markets are bouncing, taking full advantage of a little bit of weakness. Notice how the dollar's hitting resistance there, and it is fine. It's going to need some consolidation to get through there, it looks like. But the spiders just went basically green again, floating back up. Nvidia is continuing to grind and surge. FSLR is now into that level, and the volume has picked up a little bit. It's hitting that first green level that we gave. I haven't taken it yet. I would like to see it go a little bit higher considering the market's also strong. But now let me just do a volume check to see how many shares we're trading. So we're still under 500,000, which is a little frightening on the short side. It's not really that many shares for such a market leader. So First Solar's continuing to push. There is a level I'm interested in, basically at this next green line. Spiders are still hanging in there. The Dixie is trying to just consolidate near the high of the range to likely push up. And just be mindful what silver and what gold are telling us today. Gold being down 0.5% and silver being down almost 1% is likely means, and copper, the commodities, and Freeport, likely means the dollar is going to hold most of its gains. But the spiders are strong right now, and it's a light volume. I mean, right now in the spiders daily chart, we're trading. Let me just see here. We're trading 8.18 million. That is just nothing. That's nothing. That's why the markets are trending higher. 8 million shares at this point in time is nothing. No real trades as of yet. We're approaching that 10:30 time frame where the volume does lighten up substantially, so definitely be careful on the short side. The SPY is putting in a somewhat of an intraday bullish pattern. But like I said, markets still haven't reacted to a stronger dollar. They are pushing. Nvidia is pushing. Tech is pushing back up. Spiders are testing the highs here. Will it break out? If you break out, your next resistance point is around 413.50. 413.50, 413.60 is a decent level. FSLR, so look how we said that it's dangerous to short this because of the light volume. Look at this thing. It's still going up. It's way $1.50 above that 216 level, and the volume is just so light, and it's a strong name, outperforming the market, so people are going to crowd into this name. This is a bearish upsloping wedge that's forming, but yeah, definitely interesting. Definitely interesting. Let me just see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If it hits above that 2, it's that light volume that's tricky. You know, it looks like it should pull back, but all right, if it does get to 218.23, I will short it. That's 218.23, give or take. I will short First Solar. Let's do the SPY here. Natural gas is just consolidating. It looks like Microsoft wants to come down a little bit more now. Bank of America is pushing up, acting very, very well ahead of earnings. It's interesting to see a lot of these bank stocks rallying ahead of earnings. Nice pullback on First Solar. That was a good little pullback. Wow, look at that. So that resistance that we gave turned out to be a pretty good one. Could have been in and out for a nice chunk there. That was a heavy pullback on volume. 216.83 on First Solar. That's pretty good there, Real Music. Protect that trade because the volume's still light. Spiders are holding up. But that was a nice heavy volume reversal. Notice how the volume candle on that reversal was pretty much heavier than this whole buildup here, which probably signifies a top. You could probably ride this one down. I'm just looking here. Yeah, you're gonna have some support at this candle over here. So basically, I would say protect it because this thing can just grind up on light volume. I've even seen these heavy reversals happen where it still pushes through because the volume's still light. So, but that's a good little reversal. Now, I might short it if we get a retrace. Typically with a 10-minute topping tail or reversal candle, which it's forming, we have 3 minutes left. If we get a retrace of 50 to 75%, I may consider shorting it. Bitcoin's catching a small bounce off the lows. mRNA is off the table. That had a big bounce. Let's take a look at RACE. Ferrari had a big gap down. So spiders are just in grind mode, float mode. Dollar's still near the highs. Yields are actually near the highs as well. So the 2-year yield is pushing up even more now, which is likely going to push up the long end yields as well. Yep, they're at the highs. So the 10 years up 1.7, the 20 years up 1.45, the 2 years up 1.2%. So definitely a big push on the yields right now. Microsoft's coming down. Gold is making a new intraday low. First Solar's coming in. Nice job if you shorted First Solar. Just protect that trade. Big dump coming in First Solar here, guys. Microsoft's also coming in, so whoops, does look like Microsoft wants to fill that gap. Again, I still have a long trade on Microsoft down at this 284 Pierce level. A lot of people will be waiting at that gap, but now that you consolidated above it, it's not as strong. Definitely not as strong, that gap. And this could be an indication. Microsoft's definitely a leader today because it was up the most you saw. When Google was falling, Microsoft was rallying. Home builders are still acting very strong here. Spiders are just hugging the intraday 7 moving average. It's interesting, we still haven't seen the markets react. So you actually did get a close above that key red bar high. That's a bullish sign for the dollar. That should be bearish for the markets. I'm surprised the markets haven't reacted yet. I'm surprised the markets have not reacted yet. Very, very surprising. Copper's falling. Copper's actually down 1.1. Freeport McMoran down 2.5. That's good for our short. It's now approaching that 10:30 time frame. The volume is lightening up, so basically it doesn't look like I'm going to get filled on any trades today, this morning. And considering the volume's lightening up, one thing I will caution you is on the short side. Yes, the dollar's rallying, so you have that positive aspect to support the shorts, but markets are still strong right now, and they're rallying because the volume is roughly, I believe, like 10 million shares right now. Let me just do a quick check. What do we got going on here for the spiders? Yeah, we're trading 10.3 million shares. That is nothing. That is so light on the SPY. And again, with that light volume, things can stay buoyant for a lot longer. But my anticipation, we should see downside, especially if the dollar holds up and establishes itself above that 102.13. Okay? So, on that note, I'm going to call the stream to an end. Thanks for tuning in. Definitely be mindful about that dollar, the yields, and we'll see how things shape up, because gold is certainly reacting to the dollar, and will the markets react like gold is? Time will tell. Take care, everybody, and thanks for tuning in.